but thanks for listening. Yeah. Greetings, salutations to this morning edition of We Say Things, episode 240. Although it's not morning for me or Cinderin. I just woke up, so I'm just going to call it morning. Cinderin, how are you?
Yes. Oh, I'm feeling great because this time I didn't just wake up. So that's lovely. I'm full of energy, but I was later than usual because now that we had a different time, I actually forgot it. So
That's right.
But fortunately, I checked my messages. I was watching Games Done Quick on Sven TV, and it's great. But now we're here.
Close enough.
Now we're doing this as planned, and nobody will know that it was meant to be 10 minutes ago.
True. Thank you to our patrons. Amish Toaster, you should have SVG on as a guest sometime soon and talk about his recently correct spicy takes. Maybe do a rund.
I guess that's a rundown of something.
No Matter Than a Hatter, Crownfall Enjoyer, Captain Broccoli, STGC Daniel. Pyrian won Belchoff and took the kids. Mr. I Love the NBA segment, the episode where Bronny gets to play with Daddy. Pepperballs, T Coil, Yatora does it against Cinderin. Vlad, let's have Puppy on the podcast, and Disco Farm D.
And the Mega Pope, Zan Xavier, Nate Thicko, 01 Hamscroat, Shark TM, Janie, Dop, Nothing to See Here, Yes Oui Vraiment, Wooden Aftertaste, Anonymous, and a €0 bill exists. These novelty notes feature authentic banknote security features but have no monetary value. Mr. Niebling. And €0 bill. Imagine you go to a store and you try to pay with that. And you're like, it's not fake.
You know, there's a $2 bill in the U.S. that a lot of people think is fake, and they don't accept it, but it's real.
Yeah. Actually, the whole idea of SVG on the podcast, Shannon, what if we had SVG and Cap on, and we had like a fight? We did like a podcast duel.
And how would that go exactly?
I don't know. We will figure that out. We'll figure out the details later on.
Yeah, sounds like fun to me.
I'm sure they'd be down.
Before we get started, the official episode, I am debating whether there should be an NBA segment. Do you remember what I talked about last week?
No.
Did Bronny James get drafted into the NBA? I genuinely don't remember if that happened after the podcast or not.
You did not talk about... Is this LeBron James's son?
Yes.
You talked about multiple episodes ago that he might end up on the same team as his dad or something.
Oh, okay. Well, let me bring up this. Oh, that's the wrong browser. All right, so first actual segment of the week is the NBA draft. NBA segment, after all. I wasn't planning on that.
Oh, look at that.
So the NBA draft happened, and it is considered one of the worst drafts in history. And by that, I mean there's no like consensus number one pick. Like, oh my God, this guy's going to be amazing. Usually, I'd say I don't know how often that is actually. Maybe every 3 out of 4 years, there's pretty much like, yeah, this guy's going number one. And he's going to be really good. Or it's a really deep draft. Like, there's pretty much nothing in this draft. Nobody's really that excited. So if you get the number one pick, which the Hawks did, it's like, which feels bad. I know how the Suns had a great opportunity to draft somebody great at number one, but we flumbered. We fumbled that horribly. So this draft, not much to talk about other than the second round, which was on a different day. As you know, LeBron James' son was declared for the draft, which means once you declare, you can't go back to college. I think that is still a rule. It's kind of weird.
Okay.
And his agent, who's the agent for LeBron James, he's notorious for being just a real pile, let's say. He told every team, so the only teams that Bronny James worked out for, typically if you're...
Is Bronny his name?
His name is, he goes by Bronny.
Okay.
I mean,
that's
I think his
not confusing at all.
His actual name is LeBron James Jr., I think, but nobody ever calls him that. It's just Bronny.
Okay.
Typically, if you're a second-round pick, you'll work out for tons of teams, like 15 plus, okay? His agent only let him work out for the Suns and the Lakers, which is the team that LeBron is on. LeBron, before once the season ended, opted out of his contract, which is a normal thing to do when you're on the last year so that you can re-up it. or technically you're a free agent, so you can go to any team, which is why some people are like, oh, he could come to the Suns on a minimum contract and miss out on $50 million a year. Like, yeah, sure. But of course, he had this famous
And it
quote.
happened.
He had this famous, wait for the twist here. He had this famous quote where he was talking about how he wants to play with his son, and he'll essentially go to any team that drafts his son. So like, oh, if the Suns draft Bronny James, then LeBron will come, surely. So anyway, they only let him work out for 2 teams. And then when the draft started, the agent said, if anybody else drafts Bronny James, he's not going to show up to camp. He's going to go play in Australia. So that scared everybody. Not that he's even this top prospect at all.
This whole thing just sounds like trolling from everyone. Like,
So
I don't understand, man.
he ends up going 57th or something like that. So that's like almost the end of the second round, which is only 2 rounds.
Okay.
There's 30 teams times 2, 60 picks. And he goes to the Lakers. Shocker. So and then now LeBron is, I don't know if he's re-upped his contract. He's probably waiting for them to sign some other players before they absorb his massive contract.
I mean, now they have massive leverage over him, right? They can just say, you said you would play with your son no matter what, so you get a minimum contract.
No, that's not exactly how it works. So yeah, it'll be the first time in history that a father and a son have played together on the same team, which I have to admit is pretty cool. There's talk about like, there being favoritism or nepotism and all that, which of course it's true, but it's also true for every other facet of the game. And that's an interesting point that one of the ESPN analysts was talking about. Is like, if you're going to make this a big deal, then you should make it a big deal for all the other nepotism that's occurring in the league. Like coaches being hired because their son is a player on the team or something like that, or an executive hiring their friends. Like Michael Jordan was the owner of the Hornets for a long time, and he just hired his family members who some were incompetent. That's just how it is. So it's one of those things that happens in every industry. So, but anyway, aside from that stuff, I think it's going to be, even though I hate the Lakers, it's going to be cool to see. You don't follow any sports. I don't know if that's ever, like, has that happened in any sport? I'm sure it has in something.
I mean, it's not true that I don't follow any sports, but it's been a long... actively, you're right, actually.
It's never happened in esports, right?
No, definitely not. I mean, I'm even trying to think of... The thing is, most traditional sports, people retire at about 40, right? So if you do that, then you need to have kids early in order for them to even be eligible to play, right?
Which these basketball players are having right out of high school, so...
It's just a really unlikely occurrence, no matter how you look at it, right? So yeah, I can't think of an example. I'm sure it has happened somewhere, but this. All right, M. Darwish in your chat is saying the Hows in hockey and the Griffies in baseball. So there you go.
Baseball, you can be really fucking old and still play. Hockey, that's surprising, actually, because you get your teeth knocked out, you get the shit kicked out of you. That's impressive. But yeah, never happened in the NBA, so should be cool to see. Okay.
I can love basketball.
Yeah. Let's so there's going to be a Riyadh talk at the end, just so everybody knows. But first, this is old news now. They updated the game for Act 3 because it said late June ? To anybody that thought that they would make that deadline, you have not been following Valve for very long. The Frost of Ice Rack unlocks June 39th, Cinderin. What do you think about that?
Nice. My question is, when do you think that is?
What do you mean?
Do you think that's 10 days after June 29th?
29th? No. June 30th.
Well, it says 39th.
Yeah, there's 30 days in June, so it's the 9th of July.
Okay, so you do think it will literally just be 10 days after June 29th?
Yeah, I would think so.
Because I don't know... The moment you enter this territory where you throw in meme dates like this, you can claim anything.
What? How?
Okay.
It's very clear.
You can just be like, June 39th doesn't exist. So it's actually July 20th. I mean, you laugh,
I think people are going to be pretty pissed if they... I mean, this is essentially putting a date down. Come on.
Okay, so Pretty much. And to be fair, the original text in the game said unlocks late June ? So it wasn't like they were like, okay, it's coming late June no matter what. It was a way of saying this is when we're aiming for it, but plus minus, right?
Yeah.
So I think this was relatively well received, to be honest. Compared to a lot of other times that Valve have delayed stuff in Dota, people thought this was kind of, just a little funny and it was reasonable, especially because they postponed it by, a week and a half, not by 2 months or whatever. So I think it's fine, and it's a little funny, and it's a jab at themselves too with Valve time, etc. But that's what you got to do, right? It's a good strategy to play into your own weaknesses a bit like that for PR.
Yep,
so.
Sticking to dates as a game dev is pretty much impossible. So I think most people, I feel like, had an idea that it was going to be delayed since there was a question mark after all. And I think as long as there's communication of some sort, people will be happy. I think that is the common denominator here. Okay, what do you predict is going to occur in Act 3?
So I'm not going to predict the story. I'll just talk about content. So I think they will do, obviously, another map, right, of the, whatever you want to call it, the progression, the cavern crawl, let's call it that. I think they will just continue that. People have really been enjoying it. It's been working well. It's probably been decently profitable. And now that you have it, you have it running, making subsequent acts should be a lot easier than making the first one. I'm cautiously optimistic that Ringmaster comes with this one, but part of me also thinks it'll be for Act 4 because I think that one will be close to TI, and they might want to bundle those things a bit together and then theme TI around Ringmaster. Maybe. I think that's pretty much it. I don't think we're going to get like a major balance patch or something like that. There might be like a D-patch perhaps, but I think the current patch already has been updated a decent amount recently overall in the grand scheme of things. So probably that. I don't know. Anything else would just be a surprise to me. I think there's obviously going to be more story, right? They're going to release more of the... Why do I keep thinking cartoon? What is it you call it? Why is the word eluding me right now?
Anime.
No.
Visual novel.
Yes, let's call it that. That sounds great. There'll be another act of that, and then the question. I think the reason I'm cautiously optimistic about Ringmaster is the delay, because as I just said, right? If you're implementing effectively just another act to the map, then I think needing an extra 10 to 15 days for that is a little bit surprising to me. Compared to other stuff where there could be like other complications, right? Like maybe the implementation of the hero, there's something that needs some work that they weren't expecting, or something is broken, or and if it comes to the all the art, I'm assuming that's done. I don't think they do that last minute, the story itself, but pure speculation. Who knows?
I would also say, I think Ringmaster will come out with this act. I don't think it has anything to do with the theme of the Frost of Ice Rack, like literally nothing. Obviously, there's going to be some Crystal Maiden, like Immortal or some item locked behind one of the paths. But yeah, the question is, that's a good point you bring up, because if this was a carbon copy, let's say you have like Act 1 and Act 2 done, which they did, like, creating a new map with different variations becomes a lot easier than before because you already have a roadmap.
Yes.
So I find that hard to believe that was not done. It could have been the cosmetics that were being made. That's the delay. That's definitely possible. If it's a Ringmaster that's delaying it, that's a really bad sign. That's not like, this hero should have been done 6 months ago. Let's be real. So there's something about that.
Maybe this was actually meant to come out on time, but now Valve need 15 days to fix Meepo. But we'll get to that. That might be the problem, actually.
Well, it kind of depends on what this hero does, because there was rumors that it was the Slacks idea from our mod way back when.
The mind control ult?
Yeah, Parasite, his stupid ass. God, one of the worst designed heroes in the game I've ever seen. Just zero synergy.
Do you really think they're going to put in a hero in the game that can mind control an enemy and play their hero instead of them? Considering how awful Troll already is. Now losing control of your hero and it goes to the enemy team is even worse.
There's a reason that Troll ult is still in the game. Someone really loves that. So
that's fair.
But let's just say that it is this mind control ultimate. It becomes a Rubik, a Morphling issue where you have so many bugs to fix. Now, is it 6 months late worth? No, but maybe that has something to do with it.
Oh man.
Yeah,
I really okay. Part of me really hopes that's what the ult is because of the absolute chaos it'll bring, and part of me really hopes it isn't that because I think that's borderline impossible to balance and just kind of stupid in a way.
I don't think it's okay. So let's go off on a tangent a bit. Let's say it's a mind control. So the idea behind Slax's thing is you become an enemy hero. I don't know what happens to your hero. Maybe you're channeling. Maybe it's the channeling ability. And then you use their spells and they go on cooldown. So you can just use Ravage and then it's just on cooldown. Obviously, that's too broken. But let's say you become them. It's channeling, so it's easily cancelable. You use their spells like you would, like I just said, except when you come out of it, the spells that they use go on cooldown for a much smaller amount of time. Like let's say 10 seconds instead of a full Ravage duration. I think that's much more balanced. Like that's manageable. So,
but then effectively you're turning the hero into a Rubik that doesn't need to be in the position of the enemy hero. You know what I mean?
What do you mean doesn't need to be in the position of?
Or rather, you turn it into a Rubik with no positioning required. I guess you could just obviously, I mean, there's so many variables here. Like, what's the cast range on the spell going to be? But effectively, if you think of what Rubik does, he steals one key spell from the enemy and he can use it against them. This idea, you steal the enemy spell and the positioning of the hero, which is infinitely more powerful because the heroes will usually be closer to their own team than to yours, right?
Yeah.
So stealing Ravage is way weaker than stealing Tidehunter. And then he has Ravage.
Right, but the positioning of your hero and the fact that it's, let's say, channeling makes it much more difficult to actually achieve.
And there's a million ways of balancing it, right? You can make every spell used by the clone or the mind-controlled hero weaker. You can make it shorter duration, lower damage. You can have it reset cooldowns entirely when the enemy regains control, whatever you want. So, yeah, there's plenty of ways to do this that probably makes it not imbalanced. I don't know if I like the design in essence, if I think it's good for the game or not. But we'll see. It's obviously just pure speculation based on the fact that he kind of, in the trailer or the teaser for the hero, he takes a hero and encases him in like a cocoon or his like, what do you call those? In an Iron Maiden, right?
It was in a Jack in the Box.
Oh, was it? I don't know why I thought it was an Iron Maiden. It's like spikes and stuff on the inside.
Maybe the Jack in the Box was a separate. It's been it's been almost a year since we've seen the video. So
it's been a while. It was a very early. It's the earliest teaser we've had for a hero in Dota for sure. Before it comes out, so
that's a very positive way to spin it. That's the earliest. Like no, usually they always come out at that time. Yeah, so I shouldn't say I'm expecting anything, but I'll predict that Ringmaster comes out in this Act 3, and I think Act 4 will be a custom game. I still think there will be an event, and I think it's a good timing for an event because then you're, playing up TI with all the quote-unquote new people that are coming in.
I'd agree with that.
Or revisiting the client.
Some might argue that you could do both at the same time, and then the Ringmaster has an event, because the hero itself, the way they've presented it, really lends itself to some sort of carnival, right?
True.
So maybe.
So if they do that, then what's for Act 3, right?
That's the question. Then what are we waiting for, right? Because if they do an event and the hero for Act 4, I think people are obviously going to celebrate that. But then I'm just questioning, like, why are we 2 weeks delayed on this one?
Well, then there's something else for Act 3.
Yeah,
right?
Maybe. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's just the cosmetics that they had some issues with or whatever. Some delays. Could be anything.
Yeah.
Maybe Meepo is just locking down the office. Keeping them all hostage. Let's get to that.
That's a good segue. Let's move on to Meepo. Apparently there was a game-breaking bug, and correct me where I'm wrong here. So somebody would buy Manta on Meepo, disconnect.
With Pack Rat.
Oh yeah, with Pack Rat, which is the thing where your neutrals can become your actual items or whatever. Well, first there was another bug where Divine Rapier could be put into the neutral slot, and if you died, it would not drop. So it's just broken. And then the Manta, you disconnect, and your team can infinitely sell the Manta and gain infinite gold. Is that about right?
I think it was something along the lines of the 2 Manta clones that you made had an inventory which was droppable and shareable with allies that could then sell those items. Something like that. So effectively, Meepo would farm a Manta and the game was over.
Right.
Because his team would just get infinite gold after that.
So
this is, funnily enough, this is a very old bug that was very early in Dota 2 with Naga Siren, where mirror images in a patch suddenly could sell their items, and that got hotfixed overnight. But I would imagine the Naga Siren fix was a lot easier because, first of all, it was Naga herself that could sell items, not the team, and it was not tied to any neutral item or something. So it was just an inventory rule. I think the reason this is complicated is some sort of the way they've programmed pack rat and neutral item slot is probably just doesn't have the same rules that normal inventory items do or something like that. So yeah, they effectively hotfixed one problem with Meepo, and then the next day there's a new one, and then there's another one, and then they're like, fuck you, we're removing the hero for now. So, which is the right thing to do.
when is the last time they removed the hero?
People in comments were saying the last one was Skeleton King, which was taken out of the game for a little bit before he became Wraith King, right?
Well, but that was
for ceremonial reasons or whatever. Which
yeah,
is
but that wasn't actually a bug though, right? For a bug, was there a hero that was temporarily removed?
There has been. There definitely has been, because I remember this has happened before. Yeah, okay. For sure.
Well, it's been a long time.
I think I don't know if Chen was removed from the pool when he could persuade Roche, or if they just hotfixed that.
That was funny. Yeah. I don't think it was removed. I feel like I'd remember that.
I think this is not. I think maybe the amount of instances can be counted on one hand, but I think it's close to 5 actually.
Really?
Yeah, it strikes me as something that has happened multiple times, but I can't name them off the top of my head. It's a long time ago. The last one was multiple years ago at least, but it has happened a few times before.
And it didn't help, of course. Well, first of all, this bug was probably in the game for how long? And nobody noticed, right?
Probably as long as Packrat, possibly at least.
Yeah. So it didn't help that this was also on the weekend, which, Valve's going to have trouble. That's probably why they just removed it. It's probably like one command, remove Meepo, instead of actually trying to fix the bug. Thank you.
Oh, it's Meepo.
So, yeah, a lot of games are ruined, and people are asking whether these people that abuse this should be punished in some way. And of course, we know through Dota's history, if it's a bug and people are abusing it, nothing will happen. The bug will be fixed, and no MMR will be retrieved.
I think I can see both sides of that argument. One side is you're abusing a bug knowingly, and you're gaining an unfair advantage, and you know it's wrong, so you should be punished. The other side of it is, well, if everybody else is doing it and I don't, I am at a huge disadvantage by playing the game. So I can see that side to it too. Obviously, the ideal world
but
is...
only one side has Meepo, right?
Right, exactly. But you could argue it's a coin flip who gets Meepo, right? And then if it's on your team in this game and you don't abuse it, and then the next 3 games it's on the enemy team and they do, you just feel like, okay, I just got a free loss and everybody else got 3 free wins, right? So it's just one of those things where I'm not going to sit here and advocate bug abusing, but when a bug like this gets discovered, the hero just needs to be immediately removed. That's my take.
Yeah, and I would just not play Dota during that time.
Or that. Probably. If you remember, we had this bug with neutral items. I want to say it's 2 years ago maybe, where for some reason you could buy Vambrace for 0 gold. And everybody was just starting the game with a Vambrace because, well, if you didn't, you lost your lane. So collectively in the game, everyone was bug abusing together to make it somewhat fair. And at the end of the day, it wasn't fully fair because some heroes are better with Vambrace than others, but at the very least, it was better than queuing into the game. The enemy team buys 5 Vambraces, you don't, and you can't play. Yeah. So then you need to choose, do I want to play this game that I enjoy and have fun, or do I want to stay away from it at all costs because people are abusing the game?
Yeah, right? It's not 100% black and white. I agree. Somebody in chat's bringing up a top thing that I was going to bring up as well, actually, which is the old Pudge hook, where you send Pudge back to base with Chen. As he's being sent back, you hook. The hook brings them back to Fountain. I see there being a major difference still between that and this Meepo type stuff.
I agree.
Like that takes skill, coordination. Yes, it's a bug. It's you could argue it's interaction. Like nobody really knew
wasn't
it was
a bug
truly
at the time.
Yeah. This one, you're literally getting infinite gold. Of course, this is abuse. I would consider this cheating, but you do bring up an interesting quandary. Like if you don't do it, then... Well, then again, this Meepo one's it's more binary, right? Because the other team can't do it
It's completely binary. The team that has the hero is going to win 95% of the time if the players are even remotely capable, right? Yeah. It's just... That's why the dev needs to remove the hero, because the alternative is that you go in and then I don't know. I'm more in favor of removing the hero than punishing everybody who played it and used the bug. Now, if you ask me, I personally would not do this, but I would probably just stay away from the game entirely until the bug was fixed. But I understand that people that have a limited amount of time or just want to play Dota for fun or for who it's their job to play Dota, like what are you supposed to do, right? If you're a streamer, for example, and you're playing this game and people watch you in the thousands every day, and then you're just like, sorry guys, I can't stream Dota until this is fixed. It's just like you're just value owning yourself, right? You're just losing money because the game is bugged.
I think a bug. So
I understand it's frustrating.
I don't remember if we've talked about some of those other bugs before that were that this game breaking. I feel like this, and of course everyone's going to have a different threshold. I think this crosses the threshold of you should revert MMR because it's not.
I agree.
It's not difficult for them to figure out when this bug was used. Like it's very obvious. In fact, like it's a simple query for Valve.
I would agree 100%. I think this is the kind of thing where you can go back and you can drill the matchmaking history from the previous day or two, however long it's been there. And every game that it's inherently incredibly obvious because of the way the gold spikes is completely unnatural, you just void that game. And that's it. Yeah. And then if you void that game, effectively everybody who abused it got zero benefit. And then no one was really harmed in the process, right? Yeah, I guess there's like a subset of games where you're like, okay, the team that was against Meepo would have definitely won this game if Meepo didn't start bug abusing. But like comparatively, it's way worse that the people win, right?
Yeah,
with it. So it's
yeah. This for me crosses the threshold for sure. So
100%. These games should be void.
Segueing to the streamer discussion, Gorgc on the outline, I have Gorgc versus Mason as the title. So essentially what happened is Gorgc played on stream, as you alluded to, lost the game against the Meepo doing this, which obviously is very tilting. And then and this is by his own admission and just talking about it like a couple days later because Reddit blew up. He turned off his stream, played a game off stream. His team happened to have Meepo on it, and then he did partake in the bug himself, which, I'm not excusing it. He's already apologized for it and said he shouldn't have done it. It was a dumb move. On some level, again, this doesn't justify it, but on some level, it's like, okay, I'm trying to equalize losing to cheaters. Now I need to cheat to equalize.
That's why it's such an extremely vicious cycle, right?
Yeah, it's
like, and it's a bit tricky, right? Because in a way, it's good that he wasn't streaming it, because then he wasn't, broadcasting this idea to tons of viewers to then go back and copy in their own games and ruin more games. But at the same time, if you go offline from your stream and then you do it off stream, it almost feels like you're going offline with the intent of cheating, right? So it's like, it doesn't look good either way. So if the Meepo game pissed you off that much that you actually ended your stream, then my whole argument of, well, you need to play Dota to make money and keep your stream running, then that kind of goes out the window. Then I personally think, okay, if you stopped streaming because this bug exists, then don't fucking play. Just wait until it's gone, right? But that's
he probably
that's
just
my
wanted
take.
to play another game without any distractions, and then Meepo just ends up on his team. He's like, okay, well, this guy is bug abusing. Am I supposed to just, like, if I don't do it, we're going to lose. So I'm going to lose 2 games of ranked, right? And again, this is not justification. It's just, the thought process that goes into it. So anyway, he talks about it and admits that he shouldn't have done that. And of course, Reddit just blows up all this negativity, which is because there's so many eyes on Gorgc because he's a big streamer and whatnot. So I guess it's understandable on some level. But and then Mason enters the equation. This one's kind of weird. So I think because of all this Gorgc drama, he started talking about him and how, like, he was just insulting him, how he's insecure or something to that effect. So Gorgc ends up responding. Apparently, Mason has been talking shit about Gorgc publicly for how long now? It's like basically a segment on his stream, effectively. And Gork's talking about how, it's really annoying and all that stuff. So it's kind of escalated into... it's gotten bad enough that Gorgc has gotten some like really awful messages, and he actually got a bit emotional on his stream reading it. Some like really over the line shit. So just it's escalated to this garbage, basically.
I won't pretend to be knowledgeable enough about either side of this to make a judgment call, but it just sucks, no matter how you spin it, right? Like, no matter who's the asshole to who, no matter if they're both equally bad or one is way worse than the other. I know this is content and stuff, but like all this kind of like toxic drama shit just really doesn't hit me. That's like the farthest you can get from stuff that I want to watch on a stream. So it's just really, it doesn't interest me, and I just hope it's unfortunate that it's kind of popular, right? Because I personally think it's shit content, but that's,
yeah,
because it's just people being mean. Like, it just sucks.
Yeah, it
like,
reminds me of like what's happening. Like, I mean, reality TV, you could chalk it up to that as well. But like for sports in the U.S., so many of the show. This is why I love the Charles Barkley show that I talked about last week. That has I've kind of used that in my career to try to mimic what they do because it's so good. But every other show is just people getting angry at each other, just toxicity, just shitting on each other, and because it gets views, it gets clicks. So I think that's essentially what. Like, I don't even know what Mason is like in real life, if I'm being honest. I have absolutely no clue. He was on Digital Chaos after I had left, so I'd never even talked to him before. But I know the stream version of him is super toxic. I hope he's not actually like that. He gives off, like, on the stream, what's that guy's name? Oh my god. He gives vibes of, what's the guy that, oh my god. This is going to bother me we got to figure this out together, guys.
A guy from where?
Okay, so it's a talk show host.
An actor, a sports.
That's been canceled in the U.S. He denied that Sandy Hook happened. What's this fucker's name? What's that motherfucker's name?
Probably someone in your chat that can help you. I'm clueless on this.
Absolute waste of space. Alex Jones, thank you. Anyway, I'm not saying he's like him because I think Alex Jones is actually like that in real life. I'm not sure what Mason is like in real life, but his stream gives off some of those vibes. So basically just incentivizes more people of that type to show up to the stream, which is a big reason a lot of people don't like streaming, especially in Dota. Like, it can get super toxic. So you got to kind of cater a, more positive community and whatnot. Anyway, this has gone off tangent, but yeah, it's the Meepo Bug. I'm not understanding why they don't just revert MMR on this stuff.
Yeah.
When it's this obvious and it's that impactful, and to me, it's past the point of being just an interaction. It's cheating.
Especially because if you set the precedent that occasions like this get MMR reverted, it means for future situations where something like this does happen, people are less likely to abuse it when it happens in the game. Because nobody's having fun with it, right? People are doing it specifically to get points. It's not like, okay, I'm not going to say nobody. Some people probably think it's really fun to have 10 times the gold of the enemy team and just steamroll them. I think it's fucking lame, okay? And I think the majority of players I would like to think that's lame. So you're doing it because there's some sort of a gain on getting MMR. But if the precedent is that when shit like this happens, you get nothing out of it, I would like to think the majority of players will just not pick the hero. Because then it's like, what are we doing? Like, you're just wasting time. Because you want to gain MMR. So picking a hero that gives 0 is what, like, who would do that in ranked then, right? Like, what's the point? So I think it's a big shame if they don't revert the games. And that for me would be the perfect response from Valve. We're deleting the hero from the game until this is fixed. Every game that was affected will be reverted. And going forward, when huge exploits like this happen, we will do this every time. So don't pick the heroes. You gain nothing. That'll be such a strong statement to make. I don't know if you're right in that it's really simple. Because if it is really simple to just, like you said, query and find all the games where this happened and then void them, then absolutely, they should do that. But if it is more complex than that, I could understand.
So I can only base this off of what I know as a game designer. I was going to do the quotes, but I actually am a game designer now. It's Valve. If our team could do this, which we could easily, then Valve could easily do it, right? I just find it hard to believe that there's.
Maybe there's a little bit of a scaling thing going on, where when we're talking millions of games, it might add some complexity somehow. I don't know. So
with their servers, I can't see it. But anyway.
Okay.
So this bug has now been fixed, so you guys can play Dota again. Woo. Good job. You can play your Meepo. Enjoy. The fact that it took this long to figure that out, by the way.
It might have been some really complex shit. Sometimes bugs can be really stupid.
Well, it's just
finding
like
where the problem is.
how could this how could somebody even notice this happening? It means that somebody bought Manta, put it into their neutral slot, disconnected, like all of this by accident, right?
Yeah, I don't
happen.
think stuff like this gets discovered by
No.
accident. I think some people are deliberately like.
You think so?
Yeah. I think when stuff like this gets discovered, the majority of the time with things of this caliber, it feels like you're trying to find the exploit when you do this specific thing.
But then
'Cause
when
you're
you
like,
find it blows
Hmm?
up immediately, right? Because you can't keep it a secret. You do it once, like the game is already going to be out there, and people are going to
the way
mimic
stuff like this happens sometimes is probably somebody tries it in demo. They're like, "Holy shit, you can do this!" And then, or they try it with their friend or whatever, and they're like, "Let's take it to the streets." You know, it's just yeah, like you said, it spreads like wildfire. It's very clear that any bug that gets introduced in the game of this sort is very well documented within an hour. It goes really fast. So,
All right,
that's the good thing, at least, is that it's really fast to be known and be removed, right?
Yeah, true.
It wasn't in the game very long. It's just done. Anyway.
It just ruined the weekend for some people. Yeah. Next on the list is the Steam game recording beta, which I guess I can just read this. There are millions of Dota players around the world, and every day their adventures offer up experiences ranging from universal, a savvy swipe of an Aegis, to 1 in a billion, a rampage by Chen, including thrilling moments, silly moments, and everything in between. And since the only thing as fun as playing Dota is savoring those signature plays with friends, today we're excited to roll out game recording, a new built-in Steam feature that makes sharing those special Dota moments easier than ever before. Game recording lets you save your gameplay either by recording in the background or manual hotkey activation to replay at your convenience. Recordings in Dota 2 will include a timeline filled with game-defined markers. You can also add your own markers at any point. Scrub through a recording while you're still playing to review things like confusing teamfights or a failed gank, or take your time after the game to find the most entertaining moments and memes to be that you want to share. You can easily clip the good stuff and discard the rest. Snipping and sharing the clips with friends is just a few clicks away. So it's a beta right now, and you can opt into it. Pretty cool.
Have you tried this?
No.
So
the
main question I have is if you
now.
can export this in any file format you want. Because the first thing I'm thinking is, aside from the obvious, hey, I made a cool clip, show it to my friend kind of thing, is this is really good for content creators if it's integrated well. If you can literally just pick, because of the scrubbing tool and the fact that it shows you specific highlights on the bar of what has happened at specific times, it should make a lot of content creation around replays a lot faster and easier for people, which is really obviously great. But if you're very limited on how you export and how you edit it, it's a different story, right? Working under the assumption that this is completely exportable into a video format and you can edit it, I think it's awesome. If this is locked to Steam, I think that's not particularly useful.
I'd be surprised if that's the case. I mean, this is obviously it's close to a competition to NVIDIA's, is it called Shadow Play? Which I use for a bit, which is just something that is recording what you're doing, like recording your game. And then if there's a little different where you just hit a key, like, okay, I want to save the last like 15 seconds or 30 seconds or whatever, if something cool happened. This one looks like it gives you a lot more flexibility in being able to find plays after the fact. I don't know how many people are going to use this other than the content creators, but I think it's a great tool to give content to content creators. Like if I was still doing top plays or something and everybody used this, for example, then it would make for an incredible show. But for the average user, I'm not sure what they'd get out of this other than, maybe we won't see those Reddit clips where somebody's recording on their fucking phone and it looks like it's from the 90s.
Oh, trust me, the technology doesn't matter for that. People do that forever. How long has print screen been a thing? How many decades, Shannon? And people still take screenshots. Instead of taking print screens, they take pictures with their phone and upload them on Reddit instead. So I don't know what technological marvel we need maybe if you take a picture of your screen with your phone, your PC automatically uses print screen and shows it to you on the screen. Maybe that'll do it. But even then, I think they'll still post from their phone because they have it open.
I think we need AI to fix this. That's obviously the next step. But you can see on the picture here that the timeline, like when you're going through it, it shows like when certain events happen. So like in this picture, you kill level 12 Skywrath Mage. So it has a little Skywrath icon. So can easily just go through and find cool moments. So yeah, we'll see how it evolves. I know they made the same thing. They had the same support for Counter-Strike. Probably a little bit more prevalent in Counter-Strike, I would think. People love to save their cool clips. Cool plays happen. They're more obvious when they happen in a game like Counter-Strike than in Dota. It's less shareable, I would say. All right, next on the list is the SFM Contest is back, Cinderin. And this was a day after my boy W200Me made a post on Reddit saying, please bring back the short film contest. So the question is,
we probably forgot.
Did they just forget and that Martin reminded them? Is that literally what happened?
That would be really funny. I don't know. This is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a really short deadline, right? They have less than 2 months.
Yeah, it's a little, I mean, I wouldn't say it's that short, but
isn't this the shortest it's ever been?
Yeah, because they forgot.
So
of course.
Either because they forgot or can't think of another reason. Who knows? But yeah, so less than 2 months. I think we've had some of the previous winners or high placers. I think Killer Max has won a lot of the time, if I remember correctly. I think he wrote a pretty elaborate post on Reddit regarding this, about why he's not participating and how much time this actually takes. I think people vastly underestimate how big of an undertaking this is. It's like a full-time job for a couple of weeks to make a really good SFM of 90 seconds. It was the impression I got from that. So, first of all, you need to be willing and be able to put in that amount of time, and then you're not even guaranteed a prize, right? You could technically work 100 hours and get $0 for it. Of course, if you win, it's awesome, but one person wins.
Yep, 25K for first, 10 for second, 5 for third.
So, of course, in a lot of countries, getting on the podium is a good return on investment, but in some countries, getting even second place as an animator is not really that great value, to be honest. And there's all the variance and the uncertainty about how good your animation is going to be, how well it's going to be received, the story, whether you hit the right, whether you hit. That's the same with music. Sometimes you hit, sometimes you don't.
Yeah, I think there's, like, Slacks and I go through these every year, and at times it gets really painful because a lot of the animation is, like, it doesn't need to be the best. It just needs to be good and not noticeably bad. The story, so much of the time, is just real shit. I think that's the thing that, because you have to have a skill in storytelling as well as animating, where maybe just team up with somebody to get the story lined up. But the fact that you brought up how long it takes to create something like this, I feel like I haven't talked about this before, but correct me if I'm wrong. So one of the, as you know, I've been a part of like many projects in Dota, always trying to do something new. We had a project called RVD, Radiant versus Dire. Does that sound familiar to you at all?
Yes, but I don't remember what exactly.
Did I talk about this? Apologies if I did, but I'll say it again.
I don't know if you've talked about it on the podcast, but it does sound familiar.
Okay, so like I said, I'm always doing something in Dota, and there's a couple things that I've been a part of that I regret. Not in that I tried to do them, but that they just never materialized. And this is one. This is my biggest, I think, because this was gonna be fucking awesome. You guys know what Red versus Blue is? Like the Halo little videos. They like
that also sounds familiar.
That's
but
like
I was never into Halo.
Well, I was never into Halo either. But it's a famous YouTube series. You guys can check it out. It's essentially just them. They weren't even animating. It was just like using the in-game models, and then they had the main character has a helmet, so they just make a story out of it, and it became a really big show. So I took inspiration from that and called it Radiant versus Dire. We got a writer on board, SFM artists. We had an entire storyline storyboarded, voice actors, all that stuff.
Holy shit, okay.
It was a big production, and then the SFM people started working on it. 2 months in, they're like, we're not doing this anymore. Like, yeah, we're done. They just like left with the product like quarter finished. It wasn't even close.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a mega shit ton amount of time to make something like this. And that was with
And this is a minute 30 seconds.
Yeah, this is only 90 seconds. Ours is going to be a lot longer, but of course there was going to, you know, when you're making SFM, you need to put in some tricks to try to speed things along where, you know, kind of like the Halo thing where you, like Clockwork was a very important figure in our story because he has a fucking helmet. So we don't have to animate his mouth, right?
Right.
Like putting cosmetics on their head to not have to move their mouth was a huge time saver. But
right.
That one never materialized, sadly. That was going to be really cool. SF, I don't know what it is that takes so long because I've never had to. You just have to animate like literally every facet and then make it look natural.
Any one-man animation project, it's just a lot of work, right? I think
the way that I know one person does it that gets hired for Valve now to do SFMs, and somebody on my team does the same thing for Relic Arena. I don't know what software they use, but I know one of them used Kinect, Xbox Kinect. Like they still use it today, even though it's obsolete and not supported, and mine broke after a year anyway. But they use it to track their movements, right? And that gets like a good portion of the animation done, and then they go into the software afterwards and then edit it slightly to make it look, you know, a little bit better.
Right.
But I think you have to do that if you want it to be relatively normal time frame to create something like this. But yeah, this stuff takes a lot of skill.
And ultimately, at the end of the day, back on topic with the contest itself, giving people 2 months to work on this is going to remove 3/4 of the people that could have participated, right? Because everybody who wants to do this like as a side gig and for fun as a hobby, and then they still want to make something actually good and present it, you can't do this while having a full-time job.
I'll disagree with that, Sundaran. I'm going to say the 10 best videos, let's say, that would have come out if this was a normal time frame, you can cut that by a third. Okay. The absolute shit ones that I have to sit through every year with slacks will still be made. Okay, I promise you. Those take 1 to 2 days to make.
Yeah, but I mean, I think we're kind of saying the same thing. Like the actually good ones where people were going to put a lot of work into it, but that where they wouldn't like full on crunch it for a month as their main thing. Those you're going to lose with a 2 month time frame. Is my prediction. I feel like if you announce this half a year in advance, and I'm also trying to think, what's the downside to doing that? Like, why not? Give people more time. You're going to get better quality. Well, it's not like there's major changes or anything.
I think
in the
we already know the
answer. The prizes.
They just forgot.
Maybe. I mean,
do you think it's a coincidence that the day after Martin makes a post? I don't know. I can understand as well. If you look at Valve's shoes, step into their shoes briefly. They don't have a community manager. It's just a team of people that are working on whatever they want. And obviously they're probably no-lifing the Crownfall updates. So something like this is just going to slip by them.
There's also one final possibility, which is, this was also, I think, Max Keller's post, which was saying that the amount of entries per year and the amount of interaction from the community on voting had gone down year to year by a lot the last 2 or 3 years. Maybe Valve were playing with the idea of axing this, and then the thread came up, and there was a lot of people saying, hell yeah, give us where's the short film contest? I missed that shit. And maybe they were like, okay, perhaps there's a bit more support for this than we thought. Let's run it, you know? That's the only other possible thing, I think, but I genuinely still think it's just something that they missed, that they were like, oh shit, right, we also have this thing that we didn't write on our whiteboard or whatever. That's gonna be my guess. But anyway, it's cool that it's back. It's always a fun part of TI to see these.
It's essentially costing them like $50K a year, $500 for the top 10, along with the other prize pool that we talked about. So roughly around there. That's like nothing. Yeah. It's just something nice. So I don't see why they wouldn't. All right, final topic of today is Riyadh Masters, Cinderin. So
prediction time.
What I want to do is predictions. I also want to talk about me going there. Okay. I guess I'll start with that. So I was initially not invited for casting. Well, I'm not invited for casting at Riyadh Masters, and I'll be honest, I found out about this like a month ago. I was very sad because this is like, for me, it's like my home country. Well, it's the place I grew up, and then it's basically bigger than TI. So it was like not getting invited to TI. So I felt really sad. And then a couple weeks later, I got invited to something else in Riyadh. So there's this show. It's going to be on a separate stream, so a lot of you might not watch it. Where Quickshot, which is a League of Legends, or he's not League of Legends anymore. He used to be a caster for League of Legends. He's going to be hosting what has been described to me as kind of an inside the NBA-esque type like wrap-up show for the day, where he has an expert for each game that's being played, which will change every week. And it's just what I've been told. It's supposed to be casual conversation. The expert, I'm the Dota expert, of course, Sundaran, but it's not it's not like I need to be an analyst, because a lot of the people watching won't even know what that game is. So it needs to be a more, I was going to say dumbed down version, which would be perfect for me. But just talking about like the storylines and maybe explaining the game to some of the people that aren't familiar with Dota, especially because there's other experts that are, what are the games that are, I actually wrote this down. So
I mean, I think some of the things that are also interesting in shows like that is behind the scenes stuff, right? And knowing people, knowing the teams, knowing the players, knowing the orgs, the managers and stuff. So I think in a lot of ways, being just a quote unquote hardcore analyst is not the ideal role for a show of that type.
They didn't want.
So I think
like,
it's playing more to your strengths, to be honest.
Yeah, they don't want people to over-explain stuff. They don't want to make it too complex, which I would agree with. So the games. So I'm there for 2 weeks. The games during the first week are Dota, Mobile Legends Bang Bang, and Free Fire. I know nothing.
Wait, so you're also
them.
on when Dota isn't played?
So there's a 4-hour show pretty much after most of the games are done, and they just alternate between experts. So I'll be there while they're talking about Mobile Legend Bang Bang and Free Fire, which Mobile Legend Bang Bang is just like a Dota mobile version. I'm just dumbing it down. Free Fire, I believe, is like a PUBG type battle royale, I think. And then the second week, which I'm more excited about, Cinderin, there's PUBG Mobile, which at least I played PUBG, so I can kind of grasp that, and Counter-Strike 2.
All right.
So that one's going to be cool. I'm going to have to hold back on my shit talking of what they have done to Counter-Strike.
Think of Charles Barkley, Shannon, and do that.
Well, that's the problem, is he would do that. That's what makes him so great, Cinderin. But yeah, it'll be an interesting. I'm not the CS2 expert, by the way. I'm still doing Dota, but there's going to be Counter-Strike during that time.
But you're still part of the discussions, right? It's not like a monologue from one person in every segment. There's discussion, right?
Yeah. So it'll be a cool experience. And hopefully I'll learn something. I get to try something new, so that's always nice to have a challenge. And then when it comes to the tournament itself, how do you want to do these predictions?
Let's just do top 3. Let's keep it nice and sweet and simple. Okay?
All right, so
we can also do top 4 if
the
you want.
play-in is currently happening, and there's some results already.
Yeah.
So we should probably keep that in mind, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, we can say right now there's 8 invited teams, which are Falcons, BetBoom, Gaming Gladiators, Extreme Gaming, Spirit, OG, Liquid, and Tundra. And then from the play-ins, 6 teams have already made it, right? Yes, so 6 teams have made it, which are Entity, Blacklist, Beast Coast, Heroic, Quest, and Aurora. And then for the last 2 slots, LGD and VP VP are playing against Mouse, and LGD are playing against Nouns. And that is 1 series each, best of 3, to qualify to the tournament, otherwise you're out. Along with G2IG and Azure Ray, who were bottom of each respective group. So China with a pretty bad start to this event. I mean, fortunately for them, they have Extreme Gaming auto-invited to groups, but aside from that, they might not even have any representation. If LGD lose to Nouns, then there's 1 Chinese team left into the groups, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, I don't know about you. I don't have anyone in the play-ins in my top 3 or top 4. Probably.
I do.
But Maybe you do. All right, let's have a look.
All right,
Maybe I do as well
so
on
are
second
we-
glance. So let's.
We're
see.
doing top 3.
You want to just do top 3 in specific order or random order?
Well, we end up doing it in specific order to break ties anyway.
Okay, sure. Okay.
So I'll say Falcons will win the tournament. Big shocker. Second place will be Team Spirit.
Okay.
Third place, Entity.
Oh, Entity.
Which is a play-in team.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they definitely could do it. I wouldn't be super surprised. This one is so hard for me because I feel like it's been an eternity since I've seen Liquid play. Because you see them for like 3 days in Dream League and then they're out, right? And then,
Yeah, it's true.
So they're like a pretty big wild card, and so are Gaimin. I kind of feel Gaimin as a top 3 competitor, to be honest. I'm gonna say, I mean, statistically speaking, putting Spirit to win is quite good, right?
Yeah.
Let's do that. Either I'm right or it's good memes.
Okay.
So Spirit win. Second place, Gaimin. I'm gonna do way different than you to keep it more interesting. Do we take Falcons out of top 3, Shannon?
I don't know. Bet Boom is another team. They're always
Bet
feels like they're
Boom.
always top 3 and never first.
You know, there's always Extreme Gaming that I can have faith in and then lose.
Yep. Just forget about China for now, Cinder. It's going to make your score worse.
Yeah.
Of course, when you don't put them on there, they're going to get first place. So,
well, the thing is, if the Chinese teams have been screaming each other and the other Chinese teams are sucking, then I don't think that's not a great look for them, right?
True.
If they're scrim partners, unless they're winning every scrim, in which case, you know. Man, this is so hard. All right, let's not take Falcons. So Bet Boom, Extreme. Should I do China just for the memes, Shannon? I always do, don't I? Do you want China to get top 3?
Do I want it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably good for Dota.
You want it. Okay, I take Bet Boom 3rd.
Oh, okay.
And then it might actually happen, you know?
Okay. That's a good, this will be a good test bed to see how much control you have on your anti-curse.
Did you see the new Bet Boom logo, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
What do you think about that? It's kind of giving me minimalist Stranger Things vibes.
Wait, what was the other? The other one was like yellow.
Yeah.
Does it show the old one? How do I find the old one? Oh, no.
I can just Google Bet Boom. I'm sure it'll show up, right? The old one was just the red B and then the yellow B on a black background. It was very basic. And then they upgraded it a little bit to have be like a gradient from red to orange, and then the yellow B was the second one still.
Yeah, it's just a very typical esports logo where they just try to. It's like a minimalist with text. They try to transform.
Wait. Let's do a dark horse. We always do that for big tournaments, right?
Okay.
So a team that will likely underperform. Should we do a white donkey as well?
Yeah, white donkey and dark horse. True.
Okay, so let's do the horse first. So obviously, white donkey is a team that underperforms and is projected to do well.
All right.
So dark horse.
Dark horse. Well, entity I already put as top 3, and I don't.
You can't pick them then.
I don't have faith in any team in the play-in. Not gonna lie, any other team that is. So if I pick a dark horse that's already invited, is OG? They could be considered a dark horse.
I think you could call them a dark horse if they place like top 3. I think that would be overperforming expectations.
I'll take OG then. Sure.
OG, okay. Yeah. And your donkey? I mean, I've already written mine indirectly, right? Haven't I? I guess.
Oh, it's either Extreme or Liquid are the two coming out right now.
Good picks.
I'm gonna say Liquid.
Okay, what's a donkey for them? Is that out of top 8 or out of top 6?
Wait, how many teams? There's gonna be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 16 teams, so top 8. Yeah.
What qualifies as a donkey Liquid tournament?
I think
bottom 8
for me. Lower than top 6 would be a white donkey. I think top 8 is still underperforming, wouldn't you say?
It's a pretty tough field. I don't know.
If you want to say bottom 8, that's fine.
We don't have to specify it. I was just curious what you would consider a failure for that org. Okay, so I'm putting my white donkey as Falcons, not because I think they'll do poorly, but because I already put them outside of top 3, and they're expected to get top 3. So that would already be, I think anything below top 3 is a disappointment for that team right now. So since I gambled it a little bit and didn't put them there, let's do that. And then my dark horse is
Extreme.
Quest, I think.
Quest.
And
okay.
I think in this field, Quest getting already top 8, I think is a good result. I think top 6 is a genuine upset. And I could easily see them do that, actually.
Okay.
So I'll put them there. Cool. All right. That's the prediction.
Very nice.
That is the end of the schedule stuff we have here. Now, I don't know with you. I guess we should talk about this on the episode when we're going to record again, because this is probably going to be a little bit tricky.
Probably not till I'm back, I would imagine. So it's going to be a couple
I think
weeks.
this is kind of up to you. Aside from the 12th to the 15th of July, I'm basically available. So if there's any time that it can happen, then we could record. But yeah, just on your initiative, I guess is the easiest way to do this.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
because you're going to have the limitations that I don't. Right?
I don't know what my schedule is going to be. I don't know anything about what's happening.
Right.
So let's just, unless
so yeah,
I
full
say
disclosure, TBD.
Might not be one till I'm back. So we'll see.
And that would be
2 weeks ish.
2 weeks from now?
Ish.
Okay.
I don't know the exact
All
dates.
Right. So you might be without an episode for a little bit.
Yeah.
All
okay.
Right.
Very good. Thanks for watching, everybody. Until next time, Sunsfan Sinner signing out. Have a good one. Peace.
Bye-bye.
We say things that don't mean anything.
Subscribe.
Thanks for listening.